What's going on? Welcome to my channel. Welcome to another video. Today we're going to review the Aventon Aventure 2.0 fat tire e-bike. So I've had this bike for about 6 months. I've put about 500 miles on it. So I have a pretty good idea how I feel about the bike. And I'm going to let you guys know. Thanks for tuning in. Let's get going. Rock on. Okay, so first thing I want to do is kind of talk about some of the features of the e-bike that are important to me. I'm not going to touch on every single feature because you can watch other reviews. This bike has been out for a while. All the specs are online. But I'll cover the most important ones to me. First, the fat tires. 4-inch tires, knobby tread. These things go over anything. So I have ridden on asphalt, on trails, on thick gravel, on beach sand, through the desert of Palm Springs. I rode the south rim of the Grand Canyon. It's all over the place. And so I know these tires will get you anywhere. I've gone over stumps and roots and rocks, no issues. The ride's very smooth, and so yeah, even though it's a big bike and the tires are big because of the electric motor, it actually makes it feel very nimble. But don't kid yourself, you cannot turn this thing like really sharp. It's actually got a really long wheelbase, but as long as you're going straight, not taking too many rough turns, this thing is very smooth. Next, it's got fenders. The fenders are nice. I've ridden through mud and rain and puddles, and nothing up here gets wet or muddy, only the lower part of your legs, and not that much. I guess I'm just kind of escaping from the sides. The next thing, we'll talk about the forks. It does have this nice suspension system, a locking mechanism, so you can lock them, you can loosen them and adjust them. So you can see it's got a lot of play to it. Okay, that was really weird. When I pushed down, the handlebars moved a little bit, so I got to tighten them up a little bit loose, maybe from all the riding I've been doing. But that's good to know. I'll fix that. Next, just talk about the bike in general. Like, I love this frame. I love the look and feel. I get so many compliments from people when I ride this. Hey, what's that bike? And, oh, I got one too. I love it. So there's a big fan club out there. There's two models. One has this center bar here. The bar is removed, and it's a step-through version. I like the look of this one, so I bought the one with the bar. I also think that it's a little more sturdy. I like having two connections instead of just one. I just feel better, especially when doing rough riding. I don't know if it makes a difference engineering wise, but it makes more sense to me. The seat, this is the seat that came with the bike. It's fine. I notice after long rides my butt's a little sore, so I might replace it at some point, but it's been okay. One thing to notice is it does not have a rear suspension. So if there's one thing I would change on this bike, I would make it with a rear suspension as well as the front suspension. It just makes it a little more off-road ready. But I kind of cheated. I bought a new seat post that's an actual suspension seat post. And so while you don't have the suspension for the back of the bike, you do have it for your butt. And it makes a huge difference. So I've said this before, but it's a game changer. This is the best upgrade I bought for this bike. So with the fat tires, which gives you a smooth ride, the front shocks and the suspension seat post, it's like riding on clouds. This thing is awesome. Okay, I'll talk a little bit about the handlebar setup. So the grips are nice. They fit my hands. I don't feel like I'm going to slip off at all. Good range for the brake controls. They're fine. They are hydraulic brakes, so they feel very nice. I'll talk a little bit more about the brakes in a minute. You have a thumb throttle control. So this is a pedal assist bike. However, if you don't want to pedal, you can use the thumb throttle to just power it on its own. Now, when I'm riding, typically I'll use the throttle to go up, help me up steep hills, or just to give my legs a little bit of a break if I've been pedaling for a while. It's such a nice feature to have. I use it maybe 10 to 15% of my ride. I try not to abuse it too much because I do want exercise, and it probably drains the battery even quicker. But it's a super nice feature to have. My last e-bike did not have the throttle. It was all pedal assist. And so this thing is like heaven for riding. Here you have the power controls, so on and off. Adjust the power assist levels. There's 4 power assist levels. Eco mode, tour mode, sport mode, and turbo mode. And so you can adjust between those. There's a left and right blinker, which I've never used, and kind of an engineering flaw. If you put panniers on the back, they cover the lights. They don't even work anyways, but oh well. I have a GoPro mount here, so I do a lot of filming when I ride. This is where I put the GoPro. I also have a chest camera thing that I use sometimes. I'm still trying to figure out which one I like better. You have the computer display, and it tells you your range, your power level, battery life, things like that. It's really bright, works really well. There is a light on the front. I've not ridden at night, so I've not used the light, but in reviews I've read, people say it's okay. Some people do replace it. There are brighter ones out there. So personal preference. I have a phone holder. This is the one that Aventon actually ships. It's okay. It's easy to get your phone in and out, so I do like that. It does rattle a little bit, especially if you're going over bumpy roads. So just be aware of that. I got a bell, kind of aftermarket bell, because I do a lot of riding on paved trails. There's a lot of people, dog walkers, things like that. And so it's nice to have the bell. It's a nice sound. Doesn't scare anybody. Then you have the shifters. They're Shimano shifters. So far they've been fine. I haven't noticed any issues with the shifters themselves. For this particular bike, I have noticed in gear 8, it's a little bit out of alignment because you can hear a little bit of ticking noise back here. It's not too bad, it still works, but I rarely use the 8th gear. Really, gears 5, 6, and 7 are all I use. If I'm going up a steep hill, it's nice to have the lower gears, but with the electric motor, I just don't notice it. So not a big deal there. I haven't even really looked at it. Next, if we look kind of at the pedals and the cranks, the pedals are okay. I wish they were a little bit wider for my feet, but they're okay. The cranks are fine. It's smooth. There's no play. Everything is fine. The one thing to be aware of though, because this is a very lengthy bike and the pedals sit a little bit low to the ground, if you try to turn it too sharply, the pedals will kind of scrape the ground. And so when I'm riding on trails and taking really sharp corners, or just on the pavement and I take a sharp corner, you have to make sure the pedal you're turning with is up and not down. I have scraped these pedals many times. They're actually pretty dinged up. So that's just one thing to be aware of with the design of the bike. Let's see, it comes with a bike rack, and so by default you do get this nice bike rack. You can hold pretty good. I've just attached my kryptonite lock to the back, and then I added some panniers for the rear. These are Ortlieb panniers. They're really good so far. I'm really happy with the quality. I just wish they were a little bit bigger. They're just a tiny bit smaller than I would have liked. And one of the reasons why is I always take a second battery with me, and the battery's pretty big. I'll show you that in a minute. But one battery barely fits in the bag. I had to get a little adjuster here to kind of hold it together. So the battery is in one bag, And then I have an extra bag for a little backpack I have that holds all my gear and stuff. So it is enough room. I just wish I had a little bit more. If I find something, maybe I'll replace it. But it does work, and it's been, so far, very functional. These Ort leaves are really high quality. They're kind of roller bags, so they stay dry. They attach. They secure very well to this rack. They don't interfere with the tire or anything. So I've been really happy with them. Okay, let's talk about the fun stuff. So it's got a rear hub driven 750 watt motor. I believe it gives 80 to 90 foot-pound of torque, which is significant. So if you hit the throttle or step on the pedal, you can feel it. If you're on flat ground and a full battery, this thing will take off, kind of like a rocket ship. It's really fun. You do lose a little bit of power as the battery depletes. I'll talk a little bit about that as well. It's also got a torque sensor for the pedals. And so there's kind of two models. There's the pedal or rotation sensor. So as long as you're moving the tires, or the pedals, even if you're not giving it any power, the motor's gonna turn on and run. This actually senses the pressure you put on the pedal and adjusts itself accordingly. So it's much smoother. It's very easy to ride and get familiar with how to use it. Okay, just gonna look at the bike a little bit closer, about what I was talking about, give you some close-ups. Again, the handlebar and the loadout that I have. The Tektro brakes, which are probably going to give you some issues, but I mean, they work. You can see the tire or the pedal is kind of scraped up. So here's my bags. Plenty of space in there. And then this bag, I hold the battery. And because the battery, it doesn't allow me to close it all the way, I got this kind of special connector just to allow me to keep the bag closed. Okay, so that's kind of the overall kind of feature set of the bike. The two things I want to talk about now are the things that I don't really like about the bike or have had challenges with. The first is the brakes. And so I read some early reviews that the version 1 of this bike came with Shimano brakes, and version 2 now has these Tektro brakes for front and back. When I got mine, within the first week, they started squeaking really bad and squealing and screeching anytime I put a lot of pressure on it. And I saw people report that as well in other reviews. I did watch a review that said to adjust the front brake a little bit with how it's mounted, so I did do that. I also replaced the brake pads with Shimano pads, and it's much better now. I got some rotor and brake pad cleaning solution, and that's also helped a lot. I do get a little bit of screeching occasionally, but not like it was before. And so I think upgrading the brakes is probably the next thing I'll do if I do anything to this bike. And I've also heard the rotors themselves are not the highest quality. And so there's other solutions out there. So that's number one. The brakes they shipped on this thing, almost everyone has reported issues with them out of the box. Just replacing the brake pads helps tremendously, but maybe the brakes themselves or the rotors could also be replaced. Okay, the second thing with this bike is the battery and battery life. And so I've done some pretty significant testing. If you read their manual, they say you can get 30 to 60 miles or 40 to 60 miles on a single battery. No way. I don't believe that at all. Unless you're like 125 pounds, completely flat pavement, in eco mode, pedaling the whole way. Yeah, maybe. But the way I ride, and I think most people ride, is I'm 200 pounds, I ride on gravel trails, hilly areas, not just flat. I keep it in tour mode most of the time, which is power level 2. And then also, like I said, I use the throttle liberally, 85 or 15% of my ride, 15 to 20% might be throttle, the rest I'll pedal. And so my testing, I say 30 miles per battery. That's what I would be comfortable with. I did a test the other day on the White Horse Trail. You can check it out, where I actually do kind of get 30 miles out of a battery and a little bit of juice left over. So you can watch that if you want to see the test. And so 2 batteries will get you for sure 60 miles. If you got to go 70 miles, you could make it work, but you would be pretty low, I think, on both batteries by the time you got that far. Just my testing. One test I'm going to do is take it back out to the trail and just do a throttle only, full power, all throttle, full battery. How far can I actually get on that? Because I think that'd be really good to know. I think that'll help me adjust how much I pedal and how much I throttle based upon where I am and where I'm going. But yeah, so those are the 2 things I'm a little bit, well, I guess there's a third. If they came out with a model that had a rear suspension, that would be really nice. It's a nice to have. The suspension seat post kind of took care of the need for that, but I think it'd still be better. If, as an industry, they could improve battery life, oh my God, this would be awesome. If I could get like 100 miles out of one of these batteries on this bike, I'd ride this thing everywhere. And I think a lot of other people would too. And then the brakes, yeah. If you're gonna have to replace the brake pads at least, and maybe the brakes themselves. But I mean, they work. I never had any issues stopping. It was just the noise they made. And so yeah, so that's my review. I give it 2 thumbs up. Would I buy the bike again? Heck yeah. It's been great, and it's held up really well. Would I like to see some improvements? Yeah, sure. Like I said, the rear suspension would be nice. More battery life, definitely. But all in all, this has been an awesome, awesome bike. I highly recommend it. If you're looking for an e-bike and considering a fat tire e-bike, I don't think you can get any better than this one. So thank you for watching. Hope this helps you in your e-bike journey. Rock on.